that is the hinge point, really, for a lot of things, especially for Christianity. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15 that if Christ has not been raised, then we will not be raised. If Christ has not been raised, our faith is in vain, and we're still in our sins, and we're among the most people to be pitied. Like, this is something that ruins Christianity if untrue. So, is there evidence that proves that Jesus rose from the dead? I would say yes. So, the problem is, on your end, will you find that proof convincing? Because you get to decide what you find convincing or not. Whether it's convincing or not is not determined by you, but you're the one who puts belief in stuff, right? So facts and proof are facts and proof, and it's presented a certain way. Think of a judge in a courtroom and two, the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney. They're both putting forth different stories of how they think it went, whatever the story is, whatever the thing is happening. This guy's painting a picture, and this guy's painting a different picture. And then the jury has to decide which one is true. So they're both putting forth these different stories. But one thing is true: either the crime was committed by this person or not, right? So there is evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. The problem is, will you find it convincing? And for those evidences, we just go to history, and we look at what history says, what history has to say. And I would go to the minimal facts argument by Gary Habermas. And when you look up the minimal facts argument, there's between 5 to 12 minimal facts, and they put this out here. And the best explanation of these facts is that Jesus rose from the dead, is the resurrection, is the miracle of Jesus being dead and rising again bodily. So I'll say a few of those. So one of them is death by crucifixion. Jesus was buried. The tomb was found empty. Jesus' followers experienced appearances of him. They believed they experienced actual appearances of the risen Jesus. Their lives were transformed, willing to die for this message. That's big. That's a key one. These things were taught very early on, soon after the crucifixion in Jerusalem. And then James, the brother of Jesus, was converted, and Paul was converted. And these are two separate explanations that are minimal facts that we can point to that. So simplified, it's the empty tomb, the appearances of Jesus, and the disciples' belief. So all these things have to be accounted for when coming up with an explanation for why these things occurred. And you can get really down into the weeds, but that's what we do here. That's what apologetics is, getting down into the weeds of why we believe what we believe. It's not just we believe in an actual factual Jesus Christ who walked this earth, as you said, born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, died on the cross, rose again. That person, Jesus actually lived over there, right? And when we make those claims, they can be proven or disproven and looked into, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to show that this is how reality is. And so those would be the best, the resurrection is the best explanation of those facts. The cool answer to that question of why the disciples were willing to die for that message is, I think the short statement is, liars make poor martyrs, is the statement, which means people don't usually die for something that they know is a lie, right? So a lot of people have died for a lie, but they believed it was true. And the disciples were in a position to know whether it was true or not. That's what, if it was a lie, then It's the greatest conspiracy theory ever in the world, ever. There was a guy who was converted to Christianity because of Watergate. It's a famous scandal in the Nixon campaign, in the Nixon era. But Watergate wasn't able to be kept a secret, and so he looked back on the 12 disciples and was like, okay, if this wasn't able to be kept a secret, and that was like 3 people, the disciples lying about the resurrection is probably not the right answer.